stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, ask for a roll call vote.
Young?
Here.
Call vote.
Newberry?
Here.
Crowner?
Here.
Lees?
Here.
Johnson?
Thank you.
He's not here.
I would entertain a motion for approving the agenda as listed.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
On our consent agenda, we have 6 items. 7? My computer's not
I
working.
show 9.
Oh, there are 9. Sorry. There we go.
8.
I'll have to. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Agenda's approved, consent agenda is approved. We'll go into our council and staff reports, so Greg?
Just a couple items tonight, Your Honor. The yard waste signs are up, or not up, excuse me, complete. I don't know if you had a chance to pick them up with everything going on, but we'll get, if not, we'll get those done. And nice and big, plain English. Brad's looking at an option to cover both locations because the cameras are on significant back order still. So we're going to look at some options for the current camera location, and then maybe be able to identify the vehicle with our other cameras, but at least get the plates with the other one. So working on that. The Public Works vacancy, received a number of applications. I haven't had a chance to go through all of them. Mike started quality applications versus the number of applications may not be the same thing. But we are receiving a number of applications for the position. Evals, October 2nd. If you need a little extra time, that's fine. I'm just going to check and see if 11/2 council meeting would work for everybody for a closed session, and if you would prefer pre or post. I think that's the right day. Better make sure that's the right day.
Post. Afterwards, yeah.
2
Second,
afterwards?
yes.
Yeah.
4 afterwards, so.
Okay.
Post.
Post.
And you meant October 21st, right?
No, November 2nd. Oh, yes, that was the first one, yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yep. Chamber board meeting was on Tuesday morning. They are looking for folks to go to Italy. We have 2 of the companies in West Burlington. I hadn't considered doing it, but they are still looking for representatives to attend. I thought I would bring it up. I guess it depends on if you, as a group, think it's important enough to go over for, or if the chamber can handle it. But they still were hounding on us on Tuesday. And I think I'll leave it at that for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works?
No, I wasn't aware the signs were done, but I will pick them up tomorrow and put those up for the yard waste. Just working on valves and broken hydrants. Got several of them we're working on. There'll be some more water main shutdowns when we get ready for those. Boomerang is getting a final punch list. It's not very long, but we're still having issues as levels in the tower. We're still working on adjustments and trying to get that, but otherwise the tower has been functioning with the south tower since last Thursday, so it's online and functioning. It's just trying to get the tower levels where we want them to be.
We're going to meet tomorrow on that.
Yep, we have a meeting tomorrow with the engineers and Jetco that put the controls in and see where we're at or what we can do to get that to where we want it, so. Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Police?
We had an accident down on Mount Pleasant Street this morning at between Summer and Ramsey. One vehicle hit the cross wire coming across the road, and then a second vehicle finished bringing the line down. Lion showed up on scene very quickly. We closed Mount Pleasant Street down, and they were finally finished with it about 4:30 this afternoon. So it was a big line, a lot of services coming off of that one, so it just took quite a while to get that taken care of. We've been busy with trials. This week, we're in trial for the shooting that occurred on June 4th at the pool. Starting November 1st, we'll be doing a jury trial for the shooting that happened last November. So we've been back to back on those. So we've been having officers down there all day today testifying, and it'll probably go on through tomorrow and maybe into Friday. We'll see how it goes. Tomorrow, I'm going to participate in a vigil for domestic violence in remembrance of Sharp Blodgett, longtime domestic violence. She was in charge here in Des Moines County for many, many, many years. She's done a lot of good things for that, and we're having tomorrow at 6:30 at North Hill Park in Burlington. So if anybody would like to attend, there'll be Sheriff's Department, Burlington Police Department, members from the Domestic Violence Shelter now speaking on behalf of SHAR, and so I'll be down there for that tomorrow. That's all I have. Do you guys have anything for me? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything from fire building?
I'll keep it short and sweet with the sinus infection. Monday night, during training, we got called to Walmart for a teenager lighting items on fire in the aisles. Police did a great job assisting and investigating, and they were able to make an arrest of a juvenile at this time. And then we had on Friday, the aerial blew a hydraulic line, and so it was out of service. All the parts were sourced locally. The work was done in-house. It's back in service as of right now. I went out, had it exercised. It seems to be operating within its norms and everything. There's no need to retest it. So we're back in service and up and running again, but everything was done. Otherwise, we'd have to wait for a week, week and a half for someone to come in. I'm just trying to get over this cold, so
Okay.
you don't have any questions for me, I hope.
Okay, thank you. Anything from finance or clerk?
Going to have the pre-budget information out to all the department heads tomorrow, so they can start working on that.
Send that out a little bit early. We sent out the calendar. Should work pretty well, shorten it up, hopefully. And fund balances came in well. Angie's finishing up that comparison of the estimated fund balances for the last fiscal year as compared to actual fund balances. We'll get that information out too with a few qualifiers on there. Looks good for the most part. Well, actually, looks good across the board. I've been asked to attend an evening meeting of one of our Des Moines County cities to talk about TIF and tax abatement. So I said in the evening, we didn't have a meeting, so I volunteered to go. They want a plain English version. So.
Any other staff reports? Okay. Go to council members. Melanie?
Yeah, question. I'm curious with the Public Works opening, is there any in-house candidates?
There should be 2 part-time candidates.
Okay.
Those would be the only in-house candidates that I'm aware of.
Gotcha. And how is the yard waste collection going?
As normal. Brush in the grass, grass in the brush.
Okay. So no improvement, no change in behavior?
I haven't found any tires or batteries yet, so
Okay.
that's a plus.
Good, well, way to find the positive, Mike. Good for you. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm signed up to attend that emergency management training from 1 to 4. Who else is going to that? Who is? Me. Kathy and, okay.
It's more exercise.
Yeah, a tabletop exercise.
Yep.
Yeah.
I plan on going. I probably have to miss the end portion of it or step out for a little bit.
Gotcha, okay. Then Friday morning, we have that 8 a.m. forum, that
Yeah, I just,
issues and, okay.
yeah, they used to call it,
Oh,
Eggs and something.
Yeah, there's no schedule. Chad will be there, I'll be there. He provided a copy of the Iowa League priorities that were adopted by the league board, or actually not just the league board, but the league at the conference. So I think it's probably going to be more of just a Q&A or kind of an updated, but it's for their legislative committee. So I assume they're going to be focused on any issues that we may or may not have for the legislative session. So if there's anything you'd like to be brought up, you can let me know if you can't attend. Otherwise, I guess we'll shoot from the hip, I
Oh,
guess,
okay, all
from what I know.
Gotcha, okay. I was just curious what we knew about. Okay, that's all I have, thanks.
Reese,
No, I don't have anything.
Andy?
I just wanted to thank Bill Brissy for his many years of service to our community. He's always been very nice to me and done things if I needed it done and helped 4th of July stuff in many years past. So just want to thank him.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay. And I don't either, so. At this time, we would have a community report from Rebecca Teeter on the Burlington Public Library.
Since my last report, which was given July 6th, I have attended 2 Burlington Public Library Board meetings, and the next one is actually a week from today. So I'll share that information at the next quarterly report. In July, Roger Hatterberg became the newest member of the Burlington Public Library Board, replacing Jerry Parks, who had served for quite a long amount of time. And at that meeting, Library Director Rhonda Freevert announced that her last day at the library would be August 26th because she had accepted a job in Des Moines. And maybe some of you have read the article, it was in the Burlington Beacon. If not, I'll send it around. It talks about other items at the July meeting included an update on the job description for the library director position. The change required the new director to have a director endorsement. A selection committee was appointed to review resumes of prospective candidates, and an interim director was appointed to serve until the board could hire a new director. Smart bins have been purchased at that time, and if you haven't been to the library to use those, they're an automated system for checking in books. So when you drop a library book into that bin, the bin reads the barcode, and the book is already automatically checked in and ready to be put back on the shelves. So there are no problems with returning books. Let's see. A strategic plan update is going to be required in 2023. I'm not certain that will have a lot to do with us, but that is something that's required periodically, so the board will be working on that. I missed the August 24th meeting because the mayor and I were on a trip. and that was Rhonda's last meeting as library director. Agenda items for that meeting included the appointment of Lois Blythe as the interim library director, and of course, she had been library director prior to that. At last month's meeting, board members and liaisons were happy to welcome Brittany Jacobs, who is the new library director. She had previously served as manager of the outreach and program services, and some of you may have met her at the library. She had made contact with teachers in the West Burlington school system to set up reading programs there, some after-school activities, and she had planned to set up various reading programs at the park near the swimming pool this summer, and I'm not certain if those happened or not, but I know that was part of her plan. The Burlington Public Library obviously is now searching for someone to take her place, and there was an updated job description for that as well. We should hear more about what's going on with that at the October meeting. Some other things that happened at the September meeting, this is what excited me, I'm going to show you, is new library cards. I'm a very visual person, and so I thought these are just so cute. The library purchases, cards, well, in large numbers, but they are almost out of the cards that probably most of you have, or at least the one that I have, which is a picture of the new library. And so it was decided to offer people some choices. The choices will be narrowed down, I think, by this meeting time from 5 to 3 choices, but then if you lose your library card, or you just want to exchange your old card for something new, or when new people sign up to use library services, they will get to choose from one of the designs. Do you want me to pass this around, or have you been able to see it all right?
I'm good, thanks. It's cute, thanks.
Cute. Oh, I think so too. I'm just torn between the frog and the butterfly myself. Okay. So there they are for those of you. Okay. Sam Watson, who spoke at the August meeting I missed about the new smart bins, has written a space needs grant. And in response to that, a consultant from Iowa City is coming down to the October meeting. She will tour the library ahead of the board meeting and assess the space needs, and then submit an official report, which we will receive in November, we meaning the library board. Brittany, the new director of the library, reported on 3 STEM grants. Those were for robotics, water tables, and ioponics. And you might not have heard of ioponics. It's kind of a made-up word from Iowa hydroponics. And so what has happened is, in the create space in the library, which is just to the right when a person enters the front door of the library, there's a room there. There is now an ioponics fish tank, which is self-cleaning, and it's topped by an herb garden. So this will be used for children to study ecosystems, or to help them study ecosystems, and that is part of the core learning for the state of Iowa. So that's kind of an exciting new thing. And there are all kinds of additional things going on at the library that I won't take time to go over tonight. But if you go to the library website, you can check out, anyone can check out to see what's happening there. The Burlington Library has taken steps toward inclusivity and becoming one of Iowa's first sensory-friendly public libraries. And I just read that it was one of 2 libraries in the state of Iowa. And so it set up to address needs of children who have autism or on that spectrum, as well as other needs. So the initiative is based on 4 specific dimensions: physical space, programming and sensory activity, circulation of materials, and staff training. And so staff at the library will be trained on how to interact with those children who have special needs. Anita Wagner, who is from a member of Friends of the Library, gave a report. More volunteers are needed, so if anyone here on the board or anyone in the community of West Burlington is interested in volunteering at Footnotes, please call the library to do so. The Friends had a September book sale, which she said was a great success, but she was not able to give us an account of how much money had been received from that. The 2023 closings were announced at the meeting. So the library will be closed January 2nd, Memorial Day, Labor Day, early Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and of course closed on Thanksgiving Day. Will be closed December 24th and on Christmas. And I'm certain all of that information will be available and posted for anyone. The library had 2 trusts at U.S. Bank, and there was a request from the bank to close those. I don't know whether it was because there was not adequate money or adequate activity or what, but the board approved a motion to transfer those funds, which were in the Pike and Clark trusts, to the Friends of the Burlington Library Foundation, and they will be used to purchase additional books for the library. So that is all I have to report at this time. I think no action has really been taken in terms of putting up something for like a return bin or something for West Burlington, because the library's been busy with staff issues for the last few months, getting a new director and now another staff matter. So are there any questions or comments from members of the City Council? Okay.
Thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Yes, thank you very much.
you're welcome. I'm pleased to be able to do that. Oh, I guess I do have a question about the website. Thank you. Has there been any progress on like adding a library link to the West Burlington City website, or is that on there? I haven't checked the West Burlington City website myself, so
If not, it'll be on there
I
tomorrow.
apologize for my ignorance. Pardon?
If, I can't tell you, if not, it'll be on there tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Becky.
At this time, we'll ask for any citizen inquiries on items that are on our agenda, any other new business items. Seeing none, we'll move to new business. First item is to consider approving the annual street finance report for fiscal year 2021-22.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion.
Anything particularly you'd like to point out, Angie, or does council have any questions?
Not off the top of my head.
Pretty basic, not a lot of street projects this past year. Otherwise, it has a budget in there as well.
All right, if there's no further discussion, then I will call for a vote. Voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our second item is considering a final reading of the ordinance amending the city code related to snow removal and snow emergencies.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
I just wanted to bring up just a thought of something to do this year when we talked about not fining people, but having kind of a notice that we put on their car. If we could make that kind of a friendly, hey, look, here's the new ordinance, maybe not the whole thing, but kind of a short, friendly version of it, so they actually know, oh, okay, here's what I need to do, and here's where, if I don't know, if I'm not seeing the snow emergencies, here's how I sign up to maybe get that notification, have that right there on the sticker.
Sticker, I don't, we'll find something to do it on. We talked about a couple different options, about doing it first couple storms or for the first season, or, but typically I like to do that at least for a couple initially, just to, it's a new program. We'll get some information out on the website and Facebook, of course, but I do like to provide that notice, little extra touch or notice for folks. Do you have so?
There's no further discussion. Call for a roll call vote.
Please.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion passes. Go to number 3. Consider entering into a contract with Access Systems to lease a copier and main printers for City Hall.
So,
Do I have a motion to approve?
I did.
Support.
Support. Okay, motion support. Discussion. Now you go, Brad.
okay. Angie spent a lot of time putting together numbers for me on this to ensure that we will in fact save money on this. How many hours would you say you spent on that? A lot. But yeah, basically this would give us a new copier and printers. We no longer are the owner of the stuff, so we don't have to worry about disposing of them when they're gone. Like we're going to have that big brick that we're going to try to put on Gov Deals, and hopefully somebody buys it, and so we don't have to dispose of it. But yeah, anything breaks on it, on these several printers, it's all covered by them under the agreement, and it actually comes out costing less than what we were paying just for ink for the other printers, as well as the service on that copier.
I know I've worked with Access in through the school systems, and my current job also has them, and they seem to be very prompt in repairs and bringing in the ink that they need to and everything else. We've been real happy with them.
Yeah, they actually bought out J&S, and so actually they have our current copier, and he was surprised that we were paying on per page count. So, yep, when he said he had that and he already had a car contract in his hand, it was a no-brainer at that point. I can't get drivers for this anymore, so there's a lot of different computers that I can't make the copier work on. And so this will fix that issue, because we'll obviously have a new copier. And this new one is supposed to work with Angie's software for cataloging her information as well, if she has to do like a high volume of documents, so.
Brad, did you get any other quotes?
No, I didn't. Really, who do I contact around here
Not
now that
much
J&S is bought out?
Yeah, there's not much local.
No.
I wondered if we had anything else.
And that was the big thing too, was we were keeping it local then too, because right now we're buying all of our ink from third-party suppliers that are, not even near West Burlington, and one of them CDWG. And yeah, so it was kind of nice to be able to bring that back in local.
And I'm okay with this. I just, when we talk about future things, I'd at least like to have
Bring in
another bid
several
in front of me,
quotes.
even if it's a Iowa City company, so we saw some other numbers on it. I sure
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yes, we can do that. I wasn't sure who to contact around here to get additional quotes for that, because it used to be J&S and Access, and now it's just Access.
Our
So,
closest one's R.K. Dixon out of the Quad Cities might be.
okay.
They do copiers and that sort of thing also, and contracts, so.
I do know what's nice about having them here locally is they're out here within an hour to fix
Yeah.
what you got. And that is definitely nice.
I mean, my comment is we're definitely gonna have to get a new one. That copier was purchased in 2016, so it's had a long copying life.
Oh, yeah, and he said right now, if he has anything breaks on it, he has to buy used parts right now to fix the machine. That's why I like the idea of being able to have a steady cost, and then we just, when it comes time for a new printer, it's just one is dropped in place and it keeps going. But when this contract's up, when I bring it back to you, I'll bring a couple different options for you.
Any further discussion? If not, call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 4.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I just saw this on here. Kelly never got back to me. She's gone, but we asked for more mapping and more options on this, and I don't think they've paid their permit fee yet because Kelly hadn't told me that. So I was wondering if this could just be tabled till the next meeting or something, because I don't have all my answers before I will allow them to do what they're going to do.
Oh, okay.
She didn't email me back, so I'm assuming they did not get to her.
Table or subject to, either one, up to council.
I motion to table.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's tabled. Then we'll move to number 4.
That was 4, wasn't it? Mike, you were talking about
Yes, I'm sorry, it's 4.
Okay.
Number 5, consider the first reading of an ordinance adopting airport approach regulations. Motion.
Motion approved.
Motion
Support.
approve and support. Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, I've got a presentation on 10 or so slides that kind of gives like a high-level overview of the ordinance, if you'd like me to go through that, if you got a...
Other side. Is it?
Yeah, no, I've done this before.
While Zach's pulling that up, I just want to make it real clear, because there's been a couple questions on it. This does not affect our zoning ordinance. This does not affect the ZBA's ability to enforce our zoning ordinance. This is a separate chapter under airport regulations. The only restriction is a height restriction, which is really substantially higher than anything we would build out in West Burlington in that area, and it does not apply to the hospital. So you had one small piece that I think you want to bring up at some point in time, but it does not affect our zoning ordinance and our ability to regulate zoning in West Burlington. So.
All right. Well, this actually, we've been working on this for what feels like well too long. But and I don't even know if all the council members that are on the council now were here when this started. Mary Beard was actually the director at the airport. You weren't here, I don't think, either when this started.
It's one of my first meetings. Yep.
Yeah, we met out at the airport, and you'd only been here a week or two. So I don't even remember when this was. I think it was 2019. The Southeast Iowa Regional Airport made a request to Burlington, West Burlington, Des Moines County to basically update or create, in this case, approach zone ordinances because they had some land use issues around the airport that kind of impacted operations or funding and things like that. So when I say update, Burlington had something on the books, but it was from like it referenced some map from 1952 that nobody could find, and it was well out of date. And then West Burlington, Des Moines County didn't have any either separate ordinance or anything in their zoning ordinance that addressed this. So they went around and asked everybody to consider adopting this, and then when they kind of got an okay, they came to us at the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission to ask to help actually put the ordinance together. So that's what we've done, and that's what is in your packet, I believe, and I'll kind of go, like I said, I'll go over it in kind of a high-level overview. And really, what we're trying to do is make sure that there's development within the airport area. It's quite a wide area, obviously. We're well away from the airport here, West Burlington, but just making sure that there's compatible development within the flight patterns and the overlay zones for the airport. And really, some of the main things here, and I think I'll touch on this again in a second, but protect safety of residents and passengers. And then some of the key things for the airport and why they're really interested in this is if they get certain obstructions, it could impact the operation, maybe having to shut down one of the runways or impact funding that they get from the FAA into helping their operations. So those are some of the driving factors. So a little general overview, Burlington, West Burlington, and Des Moines County would each have their own ordinance, standalone. And then in each case, it's its own ordinance too for each entity. It's not part of a zoning ordinance. It's its own standalone ordinance for airport approach regulations. And I will let you know, I don't think I had a slide at the end. I did at one time, but we have presented this in Burlington. They've actually approved it, and so has Des Moines County. And so this is kind of the last community as part of the group that's impacted by this. Every one of the ordinances uses the same language, the same maps. They're all consistent, barring a few minor things that I'll touch on here as I go through this. And the rest of the slides kind of go through the ordinance itself. So if you have it in front of you, I kind of go through each of the sections and I'll highlight a few things that are in here. So the first section in the ordinance is the purpose and intent. And one of the things that I first highlighted in here is that the airport approach regulations are pursuant to Chapter 329 of the Code of Iowa. So that's one of the guiding references here, and that legislation that's in the state code. We make sure that everything in here was following what the state code requires. One of the things I also highlight in here as you go through, I'll read this sentence. It says, an obstruction may affect existing and future instrument approach minimums of the airport. An obstruction may reduce the size of the air available for landing, takeoff, maneuvering of aircraft that's tending to destroy or impair the utility of the airport. So that's kind of what I was getting at, is that there could be certain uses around the airport that could limit how planes are coming in and out, if a runway can be used in a certain way or not. And just could impact the ability of the airport to do certain things with their public investment. So we identify 3 bullet points here that the ordinance is intended to do, and I highlighted the one there because that was kind of the primary thing, is prevent the establishment of hazards to air navigation and incompatible land use in the public airport approachers. That was really their driving factor, because they had at the time a development that was very close to the airport. It's going to be like a 4-story building. That ended up not happening, and it may happen at some point, but it's moved to a different location. But it was close enough to the airport, and there wasn't anything really to limit it, or restrict that use. So there was that specific conflict there. But in general, they've had other issues too that they wanted to address. There's a section in there on definitions. I'm not going to go through and read all those, but it lists out 19 items that are defined in there. Defines specifically like the airport itself as the Southeast Iowa Regional Airport, and then a whole host of other definitions. Some of them very technical in nature. And after the definitions, the first section, and this is one that's also very technical. If you had questions, we can go through and I can answer some of those. But it lists out 4 different zones. And provides a technical description for each. And those zones are approach overlay zone, transitional overlay zone, horizontal overlay zone, and conical zone. And I'll show some maps that I think will make it a little bit easier to see this and visualize. But really, these are 3-dimensional spaces. The map kind of sees it overhead as a 2-dimensional thing, but it's really, you're on the ground, and these are zones that kind of go up and out away from the runways. So the next section is the airport approach zone map. I say to the right, that's to the left. At least the way I'm looking at it. And this is the same for each entity, this map here, and it shows these different surfaces. As I mentioned, so these are all defined in the ordinance, and this is the 2-dimensional view, so this is as you're looking down, but there would be a 3-dimensional component to this too as they kind of rise, and that's where you get into some of the technical definitions that I don't, if you have questions about, we can go through it. But so this just highlights what all these zones are, and then within each of these there's certain really height restrictions is really what it comes down to. Is they'll start from the definitions will say starting at the end of the runway for every 50 feet the zone raises 1 foot, and basically what we're trying to limit is buildings from, or I guess not just buildings, objects, trees, towers from poking through this three-dimensional ceiling on some of these zones. By the time you get to West Burlington, there's really only 3 of these zones that get into the community. It's the approach zone, which is this kind of reddish right here, and then the horizontal zone, which is kind of this, and then the conical zone. And I probably should have wrote some notes down. I didn't actually bring it with me, but by the time you get out to West Burlington too, a lot of those heights in those 3 dimensionals are from the base of the airport, you're probably talking 150 to 200 feet. So I think I noticed, as I read Kelly's report, she even noted that a lot of your existing zoning ordinance for somebody, if they wanted to build, wouldn't even allow you to go over 60, 70 feet. So some of your ordinances already kind of limit some of these things anyway.
I believe the horizontal was 150, and then the striped area.
It's a base of 150.
And then the striped area was 200.
Yeah.
At least 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just a sample of something, just so you're kind of aware of it, but we're also working on some maps specifically for enforcement purposes. So these would be on the GIS side on the back end, where we actually manage zoning and land use services for the county, so we're also in charge of enforcing the airport approach regulations. So this is for us, if somebody wanted to build, this is actually in Burlington, but if somebody wanted to propose building something, right off the highway, right in here, we could go to that website and then see both which zone it's in, but then this also has all the technical details here, so we know if you're building in this little corner right by the highway, you can't read these numbers, but at that point, it can't exceed 38 feet there, 39, 40. So we kind of know, if we know where that footprint is, we can go in and get a good understanding of what the height limitations are at that location that somebody's building. So that's something that the GIS site will be managing. It won't be on the public side, it's on the private side.
I won't be able to toggle it on the public side?
You would be able to see these here. These will be on there so you can see what zone you're in, but it won't have all this detail where you could zoom in and see what the heights are. That's where you'd have to come to, like us in Des Moines County or City of Burlington or whoever would be managing it here at the city, and then they'd have access to it and they can go look it up. Or you could call them or come visit them or whatever. But this is for enforcement purposes. So that's where I put in here at the bottom. That's one of the technical definitions, beginning at 200 feet from the end of the runway. This is further approach zone. So there's the end of the runway. You go 200 feet. The zone's 500 feet wide at this point. And then for every 34 feet in run, the zone rises 1 foot. So at the first line at 0 feet, and then you go 34 feet and it's 2 feet. You go another 34 feet, it's 3 feet, and so on and so forth. So that's the technical part, and then it goes out to a distance of 10,000 feet. So those are the technical definitions, so you can somewhat visualize what that looks like, but I'm not going to go through each and every one of those. We have a section on general zone regulations. So the important part here is that no person shall construct or alter any structure, and I highlighted this, at or above the lowest extent of any of those zones. So basically, if you're below what those ceiling heights are on any of those zones, you don't have to worry about getting any permits. If you get to that point where you're hitting that zone or above, then there is a FAA permit that you have to submit, and then we, in Des Moines County at least too, we have a little local permit too that we put together that you'd have to fill out. So really, until you hit one of these zones, you don't have to worry about doing anything. There are some very general kind of use restrictions too, and these are really tied to things like glare, animals, things like that. So we don't want a use that's gonna bring in, 500 geese or something right in one of these zones. So there's a list of some different things here, like waste landfills, I don't know what this would be, but any structure use that would create a bird strike. I think there's something in here about glare in there somewhere, I can't remember. Install, line, or use any lighting device that may make it difficult for pilots to distinguish between the airport lights or create a glare. And then planting or allowing a growth of a tree that would exceed one of the zones. So there's just some general things in there. There's a whole nother section specifically on lighting. And it says, any person constructing or altering any structure located in any zone created by this ordinance shall install all lightings or markings upon said structure as recommended by the FAA. So again, this is only if you're going to protrude through one of these zones and you have to go get a permit from the FAA, then you may have to follow some of these specific guidelines to put certain lighting or markings on it to distinguish that building or structure. These two sections have some similar language in them. One is about existing and future uses, and one is on non-conforming uses. Basically, what we're saying is if you have an existing use that's in one of these zones that's above that zone already, you can't make it a bigger hazard. So if you're already non-compliant, you can't make it a bigger hazard than what it is today. And then if it's a future use and you protrude through one of the zones, you have to get a local permit to do any of these things, and your FAA permit. And same thing on a non-conforming use. It's kind of the same thing as the existing use. It's somewhat repetitive in there, but basically it's if you're already non-conforming to the ordinance, then you just can't make something a bigger hazard. There is some language in there about if it were to be damaged or burned or something, it has some stipulations on how to when you can rebuild or not. And I think that little section is different for each community because we used whatever, usually zoning ordinances have similar language to that if something were to burn or be damaged, so we put something similar to that in here. There's a process for variance, so if somebody is protruding in one of these zones and they have a justification that they can't meet the guidance or the rules and it will result in an unnecessary hardship, there is a process for them to apply for a variance. So that's outlined in the ordinance. And then there's a section on administrative procedures. So that just states who's responsible for doing that. So in this case, it'll talk about the city is responsible, West Burlington is responsible for enforcing the ordinance. And same thing goes for the other ordinances. It specifies Des Moines County or City of Burlington, so on. And then the one unique thing about this is that there has to be an airport zoning commission and an airport board of adjustment. This is one of the things that is specified in the Iowa code, that you have to have this separate commission specifically for airport zoning and airport board of adjustment. So the purpose of the airport zoning commission would be specifically to recommend amendments to the airport regulations and or the repeal of the ordinance. So the way this commission would actually be set up is there's 2 representatives from each of the communities. So 2 from Des Moines County, 2 from Burlington, 2 from West Burlington, and then that group picks a 7th representative to be, I think it's to be the chair, I believe. I need to read it again, but they do pick a 7th one, and then that group, that's their sole purpose is just to recommend any changes or recommend to you to repeal. It's still up to the city council of each community or the county to actually make the changes or repeal it, but they would make those types of recommendations. And then the Board of Adjustment, it's the same setup, 2 from each community, appoint a 7th, and basically they're deciding appeals, the variance requests, and things like that. So it's kind of just like a Board of Adjustment for your city. It's like a quasi-judicial. They're granting variances or appeals to regulations. The rest of the sections are just kind of general, generic things. Prohibited acts, I think it's just things you absolutely can't do. There's a thing about conflicting regulations that says if there's something in this ordinance that conflicts with one of your other ordinances, whichever one is more stringent, that's what applies. Equitable remedies gives the municipality ability to abate an airport nuisance or hazard. Severability says if one part of the ordinance is deemed invalid, it doesn't make the entire ordinance invalid. And then the penalty section, and that's one of the things that's specifically unique for each community. That's based on basically what the penalties were in zoning ordinances. That's just, everybody already has some kind of penalty in that, so we just thought that was appropriate to use what each community already had. And so that's what that section states. So that is the broad and general overview. And really, I don't think for West Burlington, I don't think this will really have much of an impact. I think it's probably more of just being a good supporter of the airport and the other communities working together on the approach regulations. I think it's probably not going to impact you very much, but
Most importantly, funding for the airport.
But yeah,
If this is not in place, it can affect.
Yeah, it could impact, FAA funding down the road. Yep, correct. So.
I had one question, Your Honor. Sure. Any reason the two boards can't be the same folks? It's hard enough finding commission members. Is there any reason that you know of that would prohibit the two boards to be the same individuals?
You're talking about the airport?
These two, the
Oh,
planning,
these two
the planning and
boards?
the ZBA.
I don't think so. I guess I'd have to read state code again, but I don't see why it couldn't be the same group of 7 people.
To me, that might make sense. I mean, they're all going to be reviewing the ordinances and be familiar with it, and it's hard enough to find folks for the airport.
And I'll be honest, I don't see either of these meeting.
No,
very
but
often,
they'll have to be.
maybe once a year
There'll have
type
to be
of
an
thing.
appointment, but just finding folks and they're going to be doing the same thing and have the same knowledge.
I guess we haven't had that come up, but yeah, I'll double check state code and just see if there's anything about needing to be
Neither
different
the two shall
members or
meet.
anything. Yeah, I don't.
Right.
I had a couple questions. I had met with some planning and zoning folks, and they had some concerns. Honestly, when I read through it, I didn't have their same concerns, so
We did present it to them, and I think I
Yeah.
probably know what some of those concerns are, but I'll try and address them if you.
I was left with just 2 questions, and then one sentence I would like 4 words added on.
Okay,
But,
that's fine.
The first one just being, why include in our code the runways that are not pertinent to West Burlington?
And actually, I think the only one,
Should just be 12.
so we could probably get rid of the transitional overlay one, because I think that's the only one that would be in there, because the other 3, because there's the RPZ, there's a runway protection zone that only impacts Burlington and Des Moines County, we didn't put that in there.
I don't mind the other zones being called out so that we have all the definitions and know the heights and what affects West Burlington.
And they are shown on the map still, I think we put a note on
Right.
the map that they don't apply to West Burlington, but
But
yeah.
why have, and I'm not necessarily against this, I just want to know, why have like runway 36 in our code when it has nothing to do with West
Oh,
Burlington?
I see what you're saying, yeah. Just for consistency, I guess, to be the same, but we don't have to put it in there.
Same as those. I mean, there's nothing from the funding side that it has to be in there, or,
I don't think so.
okay. That was just one I saw, I didn't know.
Yeah, I
a
mean, we could
reason.
just have everything related to runway.
12.
Well, I guess some of it might be from runway 18 possibly too. I'd have to
Okay.
look.
Andy, I think you still have to, when the planes come in, the approaches still could come over West Burlington and then into.
And maybe loop around.
Before.
loop around. And it's
Okay.
going to take
Light
off.
paths.
But I think the main thing is we were just trying to keep it consistent from each one and just, even though maybe not everything applied, we just put it in there.
Okay.
The one we did take out for West Burlington was the runway protection zones because it really doesn't impact
Yeah.
West Burlington at all.
And then why keep this as a separate ordinance and not a subsection underneath our zoning ordinance?
That's something we discussed and felt it was, I don't have the code in front of me, but it seemed to fit within that section of the code well, and we wanted to distinguish it between our zoning and these are specific airport regulations. Wanted to kind of keep the two separate and distinct. And it fit well within that section of the code book as well with similar regulations.
That is something that we discussed, because we had actually started drafting something that would be part of your zoning ordinance, but
Yeah.
I agree, actually, I think it makes more sense just to have it as a separate thing, because some of these regulations don't really fit as well in the zoning ordinance, and especially when you start talking about the separate boards and the commission too, it's a little bit cleaner, I think, to have it separate, especially since it's specific just to the airport too. I think it just makes a little more sense, but it can be done either way.
I don't have an argument against that. It was a question that I couldn't answer and couldn't answer from reading this, so I wanted to get an answer.
Just felt it was cleaner, and cleaner way to do it, and it fit well within that code section, and distinguish it from our zoning regulations.
Well, the only specific issue I have, it's really just one sentence, and it's 163.06.
Okay.
And in that very first paragraph, the second sentence, which the first sentence is very long, so it starts, "No person shall be issued a permit."
Yep.
I believe that specific sentence needs that same qualifier that's used 50 times through here, that somewhere in there it needs to say, in any zone created by this ordinance, and that's, in that sentence. Because otherwise, that is a general statement that is any time we.
I see what you're saying. It could apply to just any general permit.
Right, and everything else in this document uses either in a zone or additional airport hazard,
Yep.
except for that sentence.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. We can edit that.
Otherwise, no other issue.
No other discussion?
I should write that down.
I believe we need a roll call vote.
Newberry,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Please,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
First reading is passed.
Thanks.
Discussion.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for being on our commission.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I didn't introduce Hans. I probably should have let, I'm sure you all know already, but he's your representative on the airport commission.
Just trying to look up the state code to elected officials to serve on. Well, you can't, I don't think the airport board could be. Yeah, but I agree with you, yeah, it ought to be. Trying to find that.
Stealing a notepad. I said, sorry, I'm stealing a notepad.
You gonna take care of that for us? You tried to steal a notepad. Jesse says you're clear.
Take one, pass them down?
Yes, please.
So keep them all. Oh,
I was gonna say.
yeah. Hey, I happen to have these. That's 6, 8 months of ours. They go back a year. Usually don't, I don't know why. Well, I do know why I kept them.
Maybe somebody still needs me that.
Just need 2,000.
I guess we did, yeah.
You out of town?
We don't clean.
Okay.
We're probably done a week or
Granddaughter
two.
to you, my God.
Yeah, a week or two, but we have usually a third person with us anymore, especially.
Really?
We think we're pretty clean.
So, are you ready, Your Honor?
Yes.
No?
Thought Katie's been working diligently, and I think we have all of the options on here, and they can be tweaked, should you have questions. So, first section, current rate structure. Second section is the proposed rate structure. On the handout, you'll see the different options that were requested, and we can play with the proposed rate structure. We talked about the additional water connections similar to the sewer. I don't believe there's any issues with that. Down below, you have the proposed rate structure from the October 5th meeting as well. And as you'll see on each of the categories, we're very close. We're not trying to go overboard here. So, on the PDF you have in front of you, I guess the violet or the purple on the left-hand side is the current rate structure. The proposed rate structure, or the first one, is simply the 12% increase, which captures exactly what we need to, across all categories, 12% increase, which captures the exact same amount, obviously. Beneath that, in pink, we were requested to put the base rate at the 33.16, and then the other three categories are at 12%, and that comes out slightly short as well. And I can play with this if you desire to do so. Personally don't think the original proposed rate structure does place a higher burden on business versus residential, and if we want to talk about that at a later time and do something more basic now, we can continue to have that discussion, but I certainly don't think it's going to be a detractor, and we can tweak it as well, but it puts the, I guess, more of the cost where we have more issues, more problems to address. And I believe that addresses it, and if you'd like me to adjust the categories to see something different than what was asked for, I'd be happy to do that, but it's pretty simple. Again, 12% across the board, and keep moving the 0 to 3,000 to 3316, and the next three categories at 12%. So I think that answers, based on the three of our notes, what was requested. Very simple and straightforward.
Greg, your second line with the 3316, even though we're showing short in that pink second column, by the time we add in the $10, then we're over what we need?
Correct.
Okay.
Down below, you have the subdivision loss consumption that was requested. That's an amount that is billed annually, and that can fluctuate. And hopefully, with the improvement, we've made some progress on that discussion. They're having discussions with Klinger and Associates, at least Beaverdale is, and we found the SRF 0% funding solution for them, and they are looking at some other grant opportunities. So hopefully, in the near future, we can get that under control, but it does provide a bit of a minimal buffer, and all we're doing is capturing the loss down there as well. And our water fund balance, while better than it was, could still stand some improvement. Is there anything else you would like to see?
I'm just curious, have we got any calls to City Hall from residents and follow-up to discussions we've had during our council meetings?
I have not.
Regarding potential rate increases? Just curious. Or any feedback from any residents? Anybody?
I don't think we've had the first reading. After we've had the first reading, you'll probably get more.
Well, we've discussed it, though, and if we have residents who are listening who it's a concern with, I would think they might bring it up. I'm just curious if anybody, but.
Any questions? Like to see anything different? And if not, do you have I'm not asking for a vote, just a consensus on what to bring forward for the ordinance? I don't think anybody can say we're overreaching on any of these categories. We tried to stay close to and passing on what the cost was. So
I still like the $10 extra connection fee.
yes, I agree.
Seems to be consistent.
Recommending 12% across the board.
Myself? My original recommendation,
Anybody?
That's what it's written.
This is my original recommendation, which increased the rates. During the budget, we talked about having a lower effect on residents, a higher effect on commercial entities, so that we, where most of our problems or issues come out throughout the year. The request for this meeting was to bring back a couple additional options, just to 12% across the board, and then the 3316, and then the next three categories at 12% for discussion.
Higher users would see higher increase.
only on the 10.5, well, everybody would see a higher increase. But the original,
What people don't understand is that we're being charged the 12% on a lower rate that we're purchasing the water from. And if you put 12% across the board, I mean, what I'm saying is, I'm paying 12% on 5,000 gallons, which has a different rate structure than what the city is paying on 15. So we get that. We're only paying like $1 something per thousand or whatever, where I'm paying $3 to $4 per thousand. I didn't come here to argue about the water. I just want to show support for the airport.
but the 129,432 is our increase from Burlington, correct?
Our total cost, right? Our increase in cost.
139,432, yeah.
Yes.
That's
And that's what we tried to match for each of the categories.
Come in through the categories.
And so we weren't overreaching and just passing
We're not
on
trying to
our
make money
costs.
off our residents by raising it 12% across the board. Right, but
Not
collect more than we're paying for. I like the disincentive to use more. In other words, encourage conservation by raising the rate as you consume a larger amount. So that's one. Two, I'm in favor of the $10 per extra connection, so.
I apologize, you're in favor of which one?
Two comments. One, the extra $10, as
Yes.
Andy and Kathy said. Secondly, the incentive to, the proposed rates where we incentivize it to use less water. In other words, as you use more, the rate goes up.
So are you looking at the,
Light pink or whatever the proposed rates from 10.5 meeting?
The original.
the 33, I apologize, go ahead, Your Honor.
I think that was the original proposal from last meeting, right? The one that's
This one right here.
here in this.
B.
Oh, yes, from 10.5?
Yes.
Yes.
That's her,
Just take that one.
Katie, do you know offhand the 60, in section B, the 62, is that all mostly businesses? Go down to B.
Yep.
And there were 62 clients there that would pay $15 per thousand. Are those just mostly businesses? I mean, there's not that many residential users that use that.
If you-
Ray, if you go over to the one where it says data, that tab. I think up where, at the top, where, I can't even read it from here.
Me
Account
neither.
usage data,
I'm sorry?
the first section in there, the
Yep.
account usage data, there's a tab that's hidden, and I think it can break down, or maybe it's already on there. Does it say like apartment,
Steps.
business? I think it does. So you can sort it, see where it says class at the top? And then all those that are in 2 is that section. Well, I guess you probably can't tell. Yes, it looks like most of them are like apartments. It's a mixture, apartments,
Okay.
like a fourplex, family homes.
If you look at the 10.5.22 meeting, there is a breakout by steps, that number of counts in each steps, kind of give you a close idea of where folks are in those breakdowns.
Yeah, and I'm just, the 62, if that was like apartments and, or businesses or stuff like that out of that 62.
Yeah, it's mostly, I would say, multi-resident, so not generally,
Like the Pennington Apartments or Van
yeah.
Nuys.
Mhm.
Okay.
So just checking if I'm understanding this right. If we go down to the proposed rates from 10.5, there's 9 businesses who use the next once they go over 100,000, their next 400,000 gallons will go from what they were paying of $12.71 to $15.50. So that's $3.30 some odd cents. No, some $2.75 or so per gallon, 1,000 increase. That's a 30% increase for them.
You're looking at the,
I'm just trying to, if I'm customer, large user consumer,
That one's not on there, Greg. That's from the previous meeting.
how much does that really look like to me when I get my bill from last month to next month? It's like, whoa, you just raised my water rate by 20%. Now, it might just be 1 or 2 customers, or 3 or 9, but there probably are 9 employers in town,
this
or
is the
school
one-
district.
This is the one from the last meeting, and, let's see here. And if you recall that, under that original proposed one, they saw about a 34-cent increase, and the 2 highest users were Medical Center and Borgie. And it just slowly goes up from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the way, all the way up. To our 2 highest users were 23 and 22, and it dropped down to 600, and then you can see that it dramatically drops down. There's only a few, and then in the there's only 1 in the 600, 1 in the 400, and 3 in the 300 category, and then it drops from there. So this one, the original one, has that breakdown of the increase. And I can pull over here, so the
You have a,
third one up was using, let's see, 1500 West Agency Road, number 14. College.
SCC.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mind if we went across the board to see if there was a consensus? See what you want to put on the ordinance?
Kathy, you want to voice an opinion there?
Unless you have more questions, apologize.
I definitely agree with the additional water, but I'm torn. I could go with that, though. The step is okay.
Which one?
The proposed from the last time is okay.
The proposed from the last one? Or the orange, or whatever you call it?
10-5 meeting.
I'm sorry?
10-5 meeting.
10-5?
Yeah. Andy?
I'm certainly against that.
Okay.
I think part of the issue is historic, because the last 3 increases that we ended up doing to pay for the water tower, when we split that percentage out, we put a higher increase on the higher end user at that point in time. So I know they're still paying a lower rate per 1,000 gallon, but when we did those 8% increases, we shifted those and put it less on the lower end and higher on the high end user. And so I hate to do that a 4th time right on them. And then, but more importantly, I'm worried about future business. When you start looking at these rates of, and understand we're only probably talking at the 1550 range, right, for any number of businesses that would probably be coming in. But if you compare that to a Mount Pleasant and a Fort Madison, those kind of places, they're more like $4 or $5 So I don't know at what point we start to price ourselves out, but at 3 times the water rate, I think that would be a good question.
Your point last time was also the offset in taxes, and tax rate. I mean, there's a number of factors for relocation. In fact, one of them, most common ones, is quality of life. And if their spouse doesn't want to attend, the owner is not going to be coming.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but
Right.
we
I understand, though.
still need to look at that
But
as one factor.
But we know that the major issue is that we don't, we buy water at a
Yeah.
higher rate. Right.
Yeah. So had we not just done the other increases, I probably would have been saying, well, let's go 10% on the lower end and 14 or, probably would have had to been higher because of less users at the high end. But after just doing it and putting a higher increase on them, I'm probably more in favor of the second column pink section at the 3316 on this increase. The next one, I'm probably back different again, but yeah, that second column is where I would be on this one.
Thank you. Therese?
So we are looking at like 11 customers that would pay more, that would pay $2.79 for the 9 people. That would pay $2.79 per thousand more than what we have currently. And do we know, are those must be businesses, those 9 people?
On the
Like-
10.5 rate structure?
That's 500,000 gallons.
Like, from the proposed rates on 10.5, you've got 9 people in step 3 and 2 customers in step 4.
It would have to be businesses. That's 500,000 gallons, and then that's for the accounts that are in step 3, and then 2 would be up to $1 million.
We really have 2 customers that use more than 1 million gallons?
On,
Up to?
Orgy has been over 1 million 4 times in the last 12 months. They have been the only ones.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, because we talked about, we don't want to hinder businesses from coming to our community to bring jobs. And I'm not sure $2.80 per thousand is a breaking point for them.
Also, if our rates are a little higher, they may want to do water conservation. I mean, there are probably ways that businesses can conserve some of their own water.
so at 495,000 gallons, oops. If you were looking at the 500,000? I mean, there's obviously several below that and above it, but at 5, you're looking at, I don't know if you can see that, the 488.16 and the 516.32. So they'd have a $84 increase at 495,000 gallons.
84 or 840?
$84.43.
$84.40.
$84.43
That per month?
per month.
Maybe my 0 was off by 1 decimal.
I'm sorry?
My 0 was off by 1 decimal.
I liked his better than yours.
For them, yeah. $15.50. Mine is $12.71.
But if you go down to small business user,
$79 a gallon.
50,000 would probably be high, right? Even for a small business user?
Yeah.
So, but let's just, 49, here's 50,000, so we'll just go to 50,000. $2.43 per month.
Okay, $2.79 a month.
$2.43 per month at 50,000 gallons.
Is the, $2.43 is the increase from what they were
Increase per
paying.
month at 50, under that original one.
And then,
50.
how many water connections does Borgie have? They have just one, or do they have more than one?
They have just one, but they have a compound meter, so it reads high and low. But it all adds up as one. So they would just have that one connection on there. Accounts like Caspian Village, now they have 3 different meters with, one of them could have like 60 units in there, so then they'd have that $10 times 60.
Is there another category that you'd like to see from that previous one, or do you have any other questions?
Well, on this proposed rates from 10.5, it looks like if we initiate these new charges, that we'll have an overflow of $365.83.
Annually.
So it's about zero. It's an estimate, right?
Looks like it's about $30 a month we would have overage.
I know we talk about the offset and taxes, that we only charge $10 per thousand for taxes, but at some point in time, we're gonna have to increase that. And so then what's our comeback to these people?
Well, enterprise funds should stand on their own. I mean, we talked about that. We tried to accommodate that during the budget process, but frankly, all of our enterprise funds should stand on their own. Water should stand on its own, sewer should stand on its own, general fund should stand on its own. But those funds need to stand on their own and cover those costs in the enterprise funds.
Oh, I agree.
And, you know, I think we've been good stewards with the money. I think you'll be very happy with the fund balance results that we achieved, and I think I certainly don't think we had a budget that was. I think it was pretty. I apologize, I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Sparse or frugal.
It got the job done, and fairly, I think.
Effective, efficient.
And with the goal of trying to increase the fund balances, because we do have projects that we have to address coming forward. Obviously, we have to continue to pay for our GO bond. We have Mount Pleasant Phase 2, but that's probably out a few years. Phase 3 is out a few years. So, and the force main study, depending on the results of that. We have stormwater issues. And obviously, on all of these, we'll certainly look for outside funding to supplement. I mean, we do that anyways, and there is stormwater funding available at this point in time. But each of those enterprise funds needs to stand on their own. We haven't even talked about, at least I don't think recently, a stormwater fee for hard surfacing, which is certainly another route to take. Have you familiar with that?
Not at all. Makes sense when I think about it.
It's a fee. Typically, a firm come in and establish it. There's several ways you can do it. Amount of impermeable surface, that you have on your property, you pay a fee based on how much impermeable surface you have. So residential owner would typically be the driveway, maybe a patio, but Walmart, for example, has a significant amount of impermeable surface. They do have a significant amount of runoff. I'd like to work on our zoning ordinances that encourages more on-site retention and better stormwater management practices on top of that, which would also help reduce those fees for them as well. And requiring those rather than just allowing this large pavement out there. And there's a lot of things that you can do these days to help with stormwater management, good stormwater management practices. But it's typically based on, there's a few different ways to do it, but impermeable surface is I've seen, I guess, the most often.
Like using brick spacing instead of solid concrete?
Iowa City, for example, I believe they give a credit or a reduction, or I don't remember exactly if maybe they don't charge. They have some stormwater management practices, so if you put in a permeable surface, for example, the road that we did over by Lures, where the water is allowed to sink in, then you wouldn't necessarily see a fee or a significantly reduced fee. Because that water, if you've watched it, go watch it during a rain event, it sinks in. I know a number of folks, because I went up and did a tour at Iowa City, and their mayor, for example, his driveway is an impermeable surface similar to the road out here. And you get discounts or perhaps no increase for those.
So our requirement to have paved parking lots kind of works counter to that?
Yes, concrete and asphalt are typical, but there is permeable asphalt these days, for example. There are better stormwater management practices that could be put in place too to provide credits as well. But it's probably a topic for a different day. Happy to get into it though.
I'm back to the same question. What's your thinking?
This 12% increase, can we do it in steps? Get them acclimated, it increased a little bit, instead of just hitting them all at once?
Well, it's October. The change went into place July 1. And we said that we would address it after the budget. So you can do that. We won't cover our increase this fiscal year, but you could step it in.
So then we were crazy to decrease the water rates by $3 and use the $400,000 of ARCA funds for the water towers. We should have just left the water rates alone then?
No.
We'd be worse. We'd be going up higher.
Yeah. The ARPA helped set our borrowing cost by essentially paying cash up front for the water distribution lines as part of that project. So that actually saved us money by doing that. And again, we didn't get this number until it's time to approve the budget.
Right.
So it put us in a position, but a poor position to consider that. So I think that's something we need to address as well. We talked about that as well. But no, ARPA, I think, saved us money by putting those funds towards that project. It has to be for the water distribution component of it, not the tower, but there are more than enough funds to cover the $400,000 of an ARPA that we have planned for that.
I think last meeting, Johnny brought up talking to Burlington about, I forget the discussion, but 12% increase, and they're saying basically their costs have overall increased by 12%. That's why they're passing this on to us.
Yes, it was just, if it could be done during the budget process
Right.
earlier.
Okay.
It would sure be nice to know earlier in the process.
And I think did we go back to Burlington and say, hey?
Yes, yeah, I'll talk to Waterworks. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Chad Beard?
Huh?
I don't know who whoever's the right one to talk to. I was trying to give you the name.
My brain's not working right now, but yes, I can certainly give him a call. he's been very good to work with, so. I don't know that I have a, did you pick a rate structure?
Yeah, she
I had
picked one.
I had an approach.
We're waiting on Teresa.
Not 100%, no. I like the disincentive, what I consider higher prices as you use more disincentive to use water or encouragement for
The original one?
conservation, which is to me, the pink, this lower pink one, the October 5th.
pink one, okay.
What's bothersome to me, and maybe I'm obviously doing the math wrong, because I'm getting $849 more I'm going to pay if I'm the owner who's
Well, what's your address?
from what I use, from current to that rate. What am I doing wrong with my math? Because if I get an extra, what'd I say, extra $800 a month as a business owner, I'm going to pay for my water if we implement that plan.
You're talking about your personal residential?
For example,
Yeah.
not specific.
Right.
Let's just say, assume
Well,
I
do you
was
know
a-
how much water you,
Yeah, I do know about
There's a-
2,100 gallons
I'm looking
in
up her
July and June, yeah, I do. But my point is, if I'm a 500,000 gallon user, currently today, what's my bill? That's what I wanted to figure out. And then if with the proposed October 5th date, what will my new bill be? And the way I was doing the math, and maybe my decimal's just off, I was getting $849. You said $84. I'm like, oh, okay, what am I?
But is yours for a year, or is yours just monthly? You're saying it's $800 a month more? At that
I
level?
assumed, aren't these monthly consumption rates?
50,000,
Monthly, yeah.
it was 47.43 per
At
month.
50,000. So if I'm a 500,000 gallon user, not a 50,000, but a 500,000 gallon user, how much more is my bill going to be month to month?
Of which there is very few, 495, I think is the one that I had chosen. Well, that didn't work. Apologize, I think I changed too many things on that. Go back to the original one.
Do it on the phone.
Yeah. And when trying to listen.
84.43?
43,
$84.43 per month?
if I use 500,000 gallons a month.
495,000 is the one I'm using.
Okay.
That can't be right.
So I'm gonna, of that, that's 495,000, 395,000 is going to get charged at the rate of $15.50, right, under our proposed? Okay, and previously I paid
I'm looking at
for that amount,
this one.
$12.71. Previously I paid $12.71 for that amount of water, right? If I'm, okay, so I'm just taking the price difference from $12.71
Okay.
to $15.50, which is $2.79 price difference per thousand gallons, okay? And then I'm just taking 395,000 gallons times $2.79 equals, I get $1,102 more that I'll pay that month for my water, just from, if we make this rate structure change. And if I'm paying the monthly bills, that's an amount of money that'll catch my attention.
What's that?
I don't have
As a,
any
person writing the check.
No, this is from this one.
Well,
here. This is the
We
one
have
from us.
automatic withdrawal.
Am I missing something? What am I getting wrong?
Coming up
Why
with
don't you look at
84
it from this
to
point of view for just a
500,000.
minute?
Yes.
This is the right cat?
Take
This
the
is-
amount
this
that
is
you
right.
are using,
Per month,
the current level, I mean, this,
this user here.
I'm using 495,000 gallons a
So-
month, per month.
so
This is
divide
for
that by
the full
1,000.
year, right here.
Gotcha, that's 495.
Okay,
So
so
this is the-
495
12-month,
times,
12-month average. This is for the full year.
Right, 495,000 per year.
Current
We're looking
rate
just at a month.
of the
Right, but the monthly
395
fee
gallons is
increase.
$12.71.
Carry it over.
okay, so multiply that out and give us a figure.
But this is just figured
Okay,
by a month.
1271,
Figured per month.
Right, but the increase, the rate increase.
$12.71 times 495
Under
equals
this program.
$6,291.
The rate,
So then,
the per month increase in, that they're gonna pay.
It's figured off of
That's
this
the
one though,
current
so
rate. If you,
That's the current bill I get
current
from the
bill
water
you're
I
gonna get.
consume.
Okay.
you get
So,
3,000 gallons, 7,000 gallons, 31. So I mean,
What's
that's,
the
it's only
current rate, or what's the rate from the
41,000
structure
gallons
you
is what
want?
you're coming
The
up.
proposed rate,
$15.50.
$15.50
Okay.
per thousand.
Higher
So
consumption.
$15.50
For the
times
500,000 gallons.
495. We just did the other one that way.
Oh, I see what you're
Is
saying.
$7,672.
That's what she was
And the
looking at.
difference-
Are you looking at
6291, the difference is $1,381.
I don't have one.
That's where my bill went up as,
So,
as a business owner, month to
Now,
month.
take your first amount that you have.
Yep,
And multiply that times, that's the
monthly rate times 12. So
monthly.
annualize that
Were you
The
looking at-
monthly rate that you got for the first time.
Yep, annualize that 75,492. 12 times my new rate structure bill, 92,064
Okay.
minus
Are you looking at 500,000 per, on an annual basis?
Monthly, I assume these are monthly rates, right?
So, yes, which would be about 41,250 gallons per month.
No. She's
here.
looking at billed monthly, so we don't have one specifically for around 500,000 gallons.
Pick something.
We're looking this
You
column,
want
not
to
that
be,
one.
you want to be billed as far
She
as it
wants to
goes.
look more like
See what I
year.
was gonna have you do.
I thought you just said year.
Yep,
was
No,
also
she's looking at month. She's
multiply
breaking it
the
down in
amount
month.
that they're currently paying.
You want a user that's making or that's using 500,000?
It's a 14% increase, right? For our water from Burlington is going to increase.
12%.
12%. Then multiply times 1.12.
gotcha, I got what you're saying.
And that will tell you what we would have to have from.
No matter
at
what,
least,
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
to make things.
1.12 times.
Are you looking at 500,000 per year or 500,000 per month?
Monthly, because aren't these,
Okay. I thought you meant 500,000 per year. We go from a 269 per month to a 768 per thousand per month user. So that 786,211 user per month, we'll see a 221738 increase or a 23% increase. If that's per month, I thought you were looking annually,
Yeah.
sorry.
well, we get billed monthly, I mean.
Yes,
And
yes.
all these customers get billed monthly, right?
Right.
Okay, and their consumption rate that listed on here is monthly? Okay,
I also have yearly. I thought you were looking at 500,000 per year.
no,
No.
monthly.
Right, so that's 700. So the next one down is 269, almost 270,000 per month. That individual or company would be paying $692.38 per month.
More,
More.
right.
Right.
Say that number again,
692.38
a month,
per month.
more.
At about
Yeah,
300,000.
that's matching more up with where I'm at.
I was going annually, not
All right.
monthly. That's where
All
the difference was.
So, Ron, if we just pass along a direct 12% increase across the
Right.
board, in the example we were doing, that customer, that consumer would consume $84,551 worth of water in 12 months.
Yeah.
With a 12% increase year over year. With this proposed schedule, their bill will be $92,066,
So the difference between those.
$8,000 more a year.
That's the big user.
That's a 495,000 gallons a year, a monthly user. You know, is that where, when, is that decision worthy? Is that something that's gonna cause somebody to say, oh, don't add jobs to my payroll because my water bill's going up, or I gotta raise the quotes I bid for customer work by 1%, and then they don't get work, and they have less employment, and blah, blah, blah.
We also have a tax abatement program for new construction or TIF, depending on what their entity is as an attraction. I mean, there's a number of factors that go into that decision-making process. Water is certainly one of those.
Well, and that's just the water, I don't even know how the sewer rate thing goes. That's flat rate, isn't it? I never did.
Well, no, it's,
Your sewer is prorated.
I'd hate to push it out more, but, I mean, if you want to push it out another month and give it some more thought, we can certainly do that. I mean, another
The only
meeting.
problem with that is we lose every
Right.
month that we're not doing this.
Right. You know, right now, I'm like, 12% across the board and be done with it, that's my feeling. All of our users got used to paying that 33 something before we.
So are you back to the pink, leaving it that at 33.16 and the rest 12%, or 12% all the way across the board? I'm going to call it orange and then the pink.
Gotcha, orange, pink, and baby pink.
The pink went up to 33.16, and then everybody else was 12%. Up above is a straight 12% across the board.
Pink, proposed, that one.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I don't,
Bless you.
I think you could still break it out, you know, because you go from 0 to 3,000 gallons, and then you go from 3,000 to the 997,000 gallons. Could you, like, take some of the rate structure out of B and put it into the pink?
It's a typo. That's a typo.
What's a typo, Andy?
Step 1 in the pink,
Yeah.
that usage isn't right. That's 10,000, correct?
3,000 to
Well, our current rate structure is in the blue.
I know. So,
Under the
second
one,
column, the pink side, the step 1, right after the base, says usage of 1 million. That number is not correct, and we said last time that is a typo, and that should be 10,000.
Over to the right.
Over to the right, under usage.
rather than 1 million?
That's what we talked about last time, that was wrong.
I don't have the paper anymore, sorry.
which one?
And it just adds 3,000 plus 997,000 to get to 1 million.
I'm with you. And we all said last time that's incorrect. It's incorrect in the blue, and it's incorrect on the proposed.
Purple, orange, then it's incorrect on the purple, orange, and pink. Right here, you see where he's got.
Oh.
And see, it's the same
'Cause
thing, right?
we don't have 522 people that use over 1 million a month.
3,000 gallons plus 997,000 gallons, it's 1 million gallons.
That's what I said.
Right, but we all said last time, that is a typo.
No.
You're telling me right now, we have 522 people that use over 1 million gallons a month?
No.
Because that's what,
up to.
That's
Up
up
to.
to, that's from like,
3,000 gallons to,
that's like 3,001 gallons
That's
too.
it, everywhere in between,
And I think we should break that out.
everywhere in between.
Like we have down
Right.
in the
That's-
Part B.
that's what we all said last time.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That number was supposed to be 10,000.
No,
Maybe we.
I don't
We
think
all
we
said
said it
last
was.
time.
it's all of the users between
I'm with you.
3 to 1 million.
But you're breaking it out at 10,000,
We all said
right?
last time to break that out. We shouldn't go from 3,000 to 1 million gallons.
More like my original rate structure?
Yeah, if you
Right.
take the scale from,
It's supposed to be
Last time it was
3,000,
just keep the current
10,000.
one,
yeah.
keep the current one at 12% across the board.
But break the rate structures.
can you take the
My
rate
notes
structure
say
from,
that you didn't want to increase the rate structure this time around. You wanted to consider that next time. But to keep the current rate structure, the number of breakdown, and not to jump to my 5 steps that we proposed.
Okay, well,
that was
I
a-
must have misunderstood that.
That
then,
was,
'cause it
that was, from my notes, it said, keep it at keep the current rate structure, let's talk about that going forward, the proposed one from October 5th, keep the current rate structure and do these, but keep the same number of steps. That's what I have from the
Okay,
notes.
the way I understood that was when we said the same number of steps meant break it into these 5, 6, the ones that were proposed. Because we liked, and I think I'm still hearing that, we like there being jumps not at 3,000 and a million, but 3,000 and 10,000 and like that proposed from 10.5.
So,
Take that
basically,
structure.
then you're looking at our 10.5 proposal, and 0 to 3 would be the 3316, and then we'd have to figure out what those
You'd have to
other
break it
rates
back
are,
down.
Yeah.
based on a 12% increase.
Yeah. I think that would be,
But that's gonna be short of what we need.
well, not if you
Just off the
break
top of my
out the
head,
rate
but-
structure further.
We had a really long one that was a lot more complicated a long time ago. I don't think we want to go too far. But,
Well, I like the rate structure
well,
you
actually,
have for B.
let's do it right here.
12.71.
2
you
years
plug
ago, we
those
had
in.
more options than the 2.
That proposed is, yeah, it's doable.
My, that'd be too difficult. But we can do that, 3316 at the first one, and then basically 12%, and we can show you what that does.
For 6 steps, right? For 6?
With
5.
6 steps.
Okay.
6?
Well, that's
Well, you
what
got 5 on
Yeah,
B.
and the base.
And a base, yeah.
All right.
And I'm not even sure if you need that last one, but,
Over a million.
I mean, we don't have anybody in there now. Somebody's probably hit it once or twice, I would bet.
They hit it a couple times a year, not consistently.
Didn't you say Borgie?
Borgie and,
Hospital.
Hospital.
Borgie.
In the hospital.
The hospital has not the last year.
Okay, well, I've still got my notes from December and November 2020, and I've got them down as hitting it.
For 2020, but 21, October to October, they haven't. They've conserved quite a bit.
They don't have any patients.
No, they shut their fountain off that was leaking.
No.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
they have-
Greg,
Yes.
Greg, this here proposed, that's exactly what the math is in there. Every one of those increases is 12% from today to here. Those are 12% increases already.
Yes.
And so we only come up, if we go with this, and we can show 5 steps.
I
if you
think you need to break it out, like what's down here,
will. Okay.
I think.
My understanding is you want to use the gray one with the top being 3316 and then a 12% increase down the board.
Yeah, just,
You got three
We got
three
your
nods,
steps.
yes. so-
Yes.
Okay. We can do that. And then,
Would you send that out to us when you do
Yeah.
your update?
yep. Also, well, we'll do another one of these and
Yeah.
add it, another category on here. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I would take a motion for adjournment.
so moved.
Support.
Motion and support, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good, thanks.